Imagine this. You've just tucked your little one into bed after a long day of tantrums, endless questions, and spilled snacks. You sit down, exhausted, and wonder, am I doing this right? Am I really giving my child the best chance to be happy and smart? If you've ever had that thought, you're not alone. Every parent has felt the weight of those questions. And that's exactly where John Medina's Brain Rules for Baby comes in. This book doesn't promise magic tricks or quick fixes, it offers something far more powerful. It gives us the science of how children's brains really develop, and how the choices we make as parents from pregnancy through age 5 shape not only their intelligence but their happiness and character for life. So if you've ever worried about whether playing Mozart to your belly helps, or if screen time is turning your toddler's brain to mush, or if you're confused about how to handle those explosive tantrums, this summary will give you clarity. Because Medina doesn't just speak as a scientist, he speaks as a parent too. And his message is comforting: you don't need fancy toys or complicated methods. What your child truly needs is you, your attention, your empathy, and your everyday choices. The book begins by challenging our assumptions. Medina recalls how, when he lectured to new parents, he expected them to ask about the science of neurons and genetics. Instead, parents wanted to know the things that keep us awake at night. Can my baby learn in the womb? What will happen to my marriage after the baby comes? How can I make sure my child is smart enough to get into Harvard, or at least do well in school? How can I make sure she's happy? And how do I raise a good, moral child? Medina realized that behind all the endless parenting debates are really these 5 timeless questions. And so, Brain Rules for Baby is his attempt to answer them with what science actually knows, stripped of myths and parenting fads. Now, let's walk through what Medina calls the brain rules. We'll start at the very beginning, before birth. Because according to the science, parenting begins long before the first cry. When you're expecting a child, everyone seems to have advice. Some tell you to play classical music to your belly. Others say to buy special educational toys, or to talk to your unborn baby in Morse code. Medina laughs at these gimmicks. The truth, he says, is both simpler and more profound. During the first half of pregnancy, what your baby needs most is to be left alone. In those early months, your little one's brain is forming at an astonishing rate, 8,000 new neurons every second. Imagine that. It's like a cosmic fireworks show inside the womb. And for this miracle to unfold properly, the brain craves peace, not stimulation. Are powerless. There are a few crucial things that really do make a difference. Eating well, taking folic acid, staying fit, and avoiding too much stress, these are the real gifts you can give your unborn baby. Medina explains that when a mother is severely stressed, the baby's developing brain absorbs those stress signals too, shaping how the child may handle anxiety later in life. Picture a baby swimming in a pool of stress hormones. It's not just mom who feels them. That's why managing stress, whether through rest, support from a partner, or gentle routines, is so important. Morning sickness, Medina adds, may actually have a hidden blessing. Though it feels miserable, studies suggest that nausea in pregnancy might be linked to higher IQ in children. Why? The very hormones that trigger vomiting may also act like fertilizer for the developing brain. So while it may not feel like it when you're leaning over the sink, your body could be giving your baby a cognitive boost. One of the most fascinating discoveries is how babies begin to sense the outside world even before they're born. Around the 5th month, they can feel touch. By 6 months, they can hear. And not just random noise, they recognize voices, especially their mothers. In one famous study, mothers read The Cat in the Hat out loud during pregnancy. After birth, those babies preferred to hear that same story, sucking harder on a pacifier whenever it was read. Imagine that, your child listening to your voice and remembering it before they've even opened their eyes to the world. The same goes for taste and smell. What a mother eats during pregnancy influences her baby's preferences later. A mom who eats garlic or drinks carrot juice may find her newborn more accepting of those flavors. It's as if the womb is nature's first classroom, gently preparing the child for the family's world of tastes and smells. All of this leads to a simple but powerful truth. You don't need expensive devices or prenatal universities that claim to boost intelligence. No product has ever been scientifically proven to improve a fetus's brain. The real secret lies in ordinary things: nutritious food, emotional calm, gentle movement, and the sound of a parent's loving voice. Picture this: a mother sitting quietly in her living room, reading a book aloud to the baby in her womb. She's not trying to force genius. She's simply sharing her voice, her rhythm, her calm presence. That, Medina says, is infinitely more valuable than any gadget money just about the baby. It transforms parents too, especially their relationship. Medina doesn't sugarcoat it. Having a baby can strain a marriage more than almost any other life change. Sleep deprivation, new responsibilities, and different parenting styles can lead to conflict. And conflict, left unchecked, affects children deeply. Science shows that babies don't just notice tension between parents, they absorb it. Their brains crave safety, and when they sense discord, they focus on survival instead of learning. So what can couples do? Medina highlights something simple yet profound: teamwork in the small things. Sharing household chores, supporting each other, and practicing empathy toward your partner create an environment where the baby feels secure. For example, a father who picks up the vacuum cleaner isn't just cleaning, he's building a safer, calmer emotional world for his child. That's because a strong, respectful partnership becomes the soil in which the baby's brain can flourish. Imagine two scenarios. In one, a couple constantly argues, each overwhelmed and feeling unsupported. Their baby, even before speaking a word, senses the tension. In the other, the couple still faces challenges, but they share responsibilities, they talk kindly, and they comfort each other. Their baby feels that warmth, that stability, and grows in a home where learning and love feel safe. The difference between those two homes is the difference between fertile soil and rocky ground. Medina introduces a beautiful metaphor throughout the book: seed and soil. Every child is born with certain seeds, their genetic potential. But whether those seeds grow into thriving plants depends on the soil parents provide. Some things we can't control, genes play a huge role. But the soil of love, safety, and empathy can nurture a child's brain in ways that far exceed what toys or technology can offer. As we close this first section of the book, the message is both sobering and uplifting. Sobering, because it reminds us how much influence we truly have in shaping our child's mind and heart. Uplifting, because it strips away the overwhelming noise of parenting advice and leaves us with something clear and doable. Eat well. Stay calm. Love your partner. Talk and sing to your baby. Provide safe, nurturing soil. That's what grows a smart, happy child from the very beginning. And as Medina gently reminds us, this is only the start. Because once the baby is born, the questions keep coming. How do you actually raise a child who is not only intelligent, but also resilient, kind, and joyful? That's where the next chapter child's eyes and wondered, is my baby smart? Will they grow up to succeed in school and in life? You're not alone. Parents everywhere worry about intelligence. We want to give our children every advantage, yet we often feel torn between two extremes, letting kids play freely or filling their days with structured enrichment. Medina's research offers clarity here. The truth is, the brain doesn't care about being smart in the way we usually think. What it cares about is survival and safety first. Only when a child feels secure can their brain truly open up to learn. Think about it this way: if you were dropped into a jungle and constantly worried about wild animals lurking in the bushes, would you feel calm enough to learn calculus? Of course not. In the same way, when children feel unsafe, emotionally or physically, their brains shift into survival mode. Medina reminds us that a sense of safety is the foundation for all learning. This means that before we worry about test scores or academic milestones, we must first ask, does my child feel secure, loved, and calm? But what exactly is smart? Medina explains that intelligence is not a single number, like IQ. Instead, there are multiple types of intelligence: musical, spatial, emotional, linguistic, and more. Every child's brain is wired differently, and that wiring shapes how they learn best. So when we compare our child's progress to another child's, we're often missing the bigger picture. Your child might not speak as early as another, but maybe they're already showing extraordinary spatial awareness or musical rhythm. Every brain has its own unique fingerprint. One of the most powerful predictors of future success, Medina says, is not IQ at all. It's self-control. The famous marshmallow test shows this perfectly. Children were given a marshmallow and told they could either eat it immediately or wait a little while and receive 2 marshmallows. The children who could delay gratification, who could wait patiently, went on, years later, to do better academically, socially, and even financially. What this tells us is that impulse control, the ability to pause, wait, and manage one's emotions, is the real building block of reaching for a cookie before dinner. You could yell, or you could turn it into a lesson in patience. By gently guiding them to wait, maybe by offering a small distraction, praising their effort, or celebrating when they succeed, you're actually strengthening the very skill that predicts lifelong success. In those small, everyday moments, you're teaching far more than just manners. You're teaching self-control, the golden thread that ties intelligence to real-world outcomes. But how do we, as parents, nurture intelligence in daily life? Medina points to something simple yet profound: language. Talking to your child, really talking, has an enormous effect on their brain development. The number and variety of words a child hears from a loving adult directly influence their vocabulary and even their IQ. And here's the catch: the words have to come from you, a real human being. Not from a DVD, not from an app, and not from background television. Studies show that screen-based language programs can actually reduce vocabulary in toddlers. Picture a parent folding laundry while narrating what they're doing. Here's a big blue shirt. Look at this tiny sock. This goes on your foot. To us, it may feel ordinary, even silly. But to a baby's brain, it's a flood of rich information. They're not just hearing words, they're hearing tone, rhythm, facial expressions, and emotion. All of these work together to wire the brain for language and thought. And it's not just the number of words, but the quality of interaction. Medina emphasizes serve and return conversations. When a baby babbles, and you respond with a smile, a word, or an imitation, you're playing a game of verbal catch. This back-and-forth interaction is like fertilizer for the developing brain. It teaches communication, builds trust, and lays the foundation for later academic skills. Now, let's talk about play. Parents often worry about providing the best toys, but Medina reassures us, the best playroom isn't filled with gadgets. It's filled with opportunities for imagination. A cardboard box, crayons, blocks, these are the real brain boosters. Play is not a break from learning, play is the way young children learn. When your child pretends a stick is a magic wand or builds a tower only to knock it down, they are experimenting, problem-solving, and learning resilience. Hyperparenting, the constant pressure to push children ahead with endless structured lessons and achievement-based play, can actually backfire. Children need unstructured play to develop creativity and problem-solving skills. Imagine a 4-year-old shuttled from piano lessons to soccer practice to math tutoring, with little time for free play. On the surface, it may seem like enrichment. But without the balance of imaginative play, their natural curiosity can wither. Medina's reminder is gentle but firm: childhood is not a race. Brains grow best when curiosity is allowed to lead. And then there's the question every parent asks in our modern world: what about screens? Medina is clear. For children under 2, television does more harm than good. Their brains are wired for real human interaction, not flickering images. A child sitting in front of a screen is missing out on the crucial face-to-face communication that wires their brain for language, empathy, and focus. Even educational TV cannot replace the power of a real person. For older kids, moderation and content matter, but in the early years, the best program your baby can watch is your face. Consider this simple scenario. A toddler watches cartoons for an hour while their parent cooks dinner in silence. Now imagine the same hour with the toddler sitting on the kitchen floor, banging pots, helping stir with a wooden spoon, and chatting with mom or dad. The mess is greater, but so are the brain gains. That second child is soaking in language, practicing motor skills, and building the bonds that foster learning. Another key insight from Medina is the way we praise our children. Many of us instinctively say, "You're so smart," when our child succeeds. But the science says this can actually backfire. Children praised for being smart often shy away from challenges, fearing they'll lose that label if they fail. Instead, praising effort, "You worked so hard on that puzzle," encourages persistence. Effort-based praise teaches children that intelligence is not fixed, but something they can grow through practice and resilience. Picture a little girl drawing. If you say, "Wow, you're such an artist," she may feel pressure to always produce beautiful drawings and may avoid trying harder things. But if you say, "I love how carefully you used all those colors," you're praising her process. That makes her more likely to keep experimenting and learning. It's a small shift in words that can change a child's entire mindset. Together, safety, self-control, language, play, and effort-based praise, a picture emerges of what it really means to raise a smart child. It's not about cramming their brains with information. It's about creating a safe, loving environment where their natural curiosity can bloom. It's about teaching patience in small moments, talking to them constantly, letting them play freely, limiting screens, and celebrating effort over innate talent. The message is freeing. You don't need a degree in neuroscience or a house full of educational toys. You just need to be present, to talk, to play, to guide gently. Intelligence, Medina reminds us, is not a race to see who learns the alphabet first. It's a lifelong ability to explore, to adapt, to persist, and those skills begin in the everyday interactions of early childhood. And as we shift from the question of intelligence to the next big question, happiness, we'll see that the two are more connected than we think. Because a child who feels loved, who feels safe, and who learns to connect with others, is not only smart but also happy. And isn't that what every parent longs for? Every parent has whispered this hope at some point, "I just want my child to be happy." It sounds simple, yet happiness can feel slippery. We see our kids throw tantrums, melt down in tears, or push us away in anger, and we wonder, am I doing something wrong? Am I raising a child who will struggle to find joy? Medina reminds us that happiness isn't about giving kids everything they want or shielding them from every hurt. Instead, happiness grows from the way the brain learns to handle emotions, connect with others, and make sense of life. Let's start with a surprising fact: babies are born with their own temperaments. From the first days, some are naturally more cheerful, others more cautious, and still others more intense. You might remember holding your newborn and thinking, "This little one already has a personality." And you were right. Genetics play a role in how prone a child is to certain moods. But genetics are not destiny. The soil we provide, the way we respond to their emotions, can either nurture resilience and joy, or amplify stress and anxiety. Here's where neuroscience gets fascinating. Inside every brain are special cells called mirror neurons. They fire not just when we act, but when we watch someone else act. This is why babies cry when they hear another baby cry. It's why toddlers laugh when they see you laugh. Our brains are wired to echo each other's emotions. What does this mean for parenting? It means that when you're calm, empathetic, and responsive, your child's brain literally mirrors that state. When you meet their tantrum with gentleness instead of fury, you're teaching their brain a pattern. Emotions can be felt, named, in the middle of a grocery store meltdown. You feel the stares of strangers, your stress level spikes, and your first instinct might be to snap. Medina suggests something different. Bend down, meet your child's eyes, and label their feelings. You're angry because we can't buy the candy. I know it's hard. In that moment, you're doing more than calming the storm. You're teaching your child how to recognize emotions, how to put words to big feelings, and how to see that emotions don't have to control them. Over time, this simple act of empathy becomes the foundation for emotional intelligence, the ability to navigate life with resilience and compassion. Medina emphasizes that emotions and logic are not separate enemies battling in the brain. They're intertwined. A child who learns to understand and regulate emotions is better able to focus, to learn, and to build relationships. Happiness, then, isn't about a constant state of pleasure. It's about balance. The ability to ride out difficult feelings and return to a state of calm and connection. So how do we nurture happiness day to day? The secret, Medina says, is empathy. Empathy soothes the nervous system. It calms the body's stress response and creates a sense of safety. Imagine your child running into the room with tears streaming down their face after a tumble. You have two choices. You can dismiss it, "You're fine, stop crying." Or you can acknowledge it, "That fall scared you, didn't it? Come here, you're safe now." One response shuts emotions down, the other teaches the child that emotions are safe to express and can be comforted. Over time, that comfort translates into confidence and happiness. Friendship, too, plays a huge role in happiness. Medina notes that the best predictor of lifelong joy isn't wealth, or even success, it's relationships. And the foundation for friendships is laid early, in the ability to read nonverbal cues and connect with others. A child who can look at a friend's face and notice when they're sad, then respond with kindness, is a child who will be more likely to form strong, supportive bonds. How do we teach this? Again, through modeling and empathy. When you talk about emotions openly, when you show care for others, your child learns to do the same. There's a powerful link here to activities we might overlook. Learning a musical instrument, for example, has been shown to boost a child's ability to read emotions in others by as much as 50%. Why? Because music trains the brain to listen closely, to detect subtle changes in tone and rhythm, skills that translate directly into social awareness. On the other hand, too much texting or screen-based communication can erode this skill, because children lose the face-to-face practice of reading expressions and tones. Can children really learn happiness? Aren't some just naturally more joyful than others? Medina's answer is yes, children are born with different temperaments. But happiness, in the sense of emotional resilience and connection, can be taught and nurtured. Think of it like tending a garden. Some plants are hardy and bloom easily. Others are delicate and need more care. But with the right soil, water, and sunlight, each can flourish. Consider a child who is naturally anxious. Left without guidance, that anxiety could grow into lifelong struggles. But with patient parents who model calm, who validate feelings, and who teach coping skills, that same child can grow into an empathetic, thoughtful adult. Their natural sensitivity becomes a gift rather than a burden. One of Medina's most comforting reminders is that happiness is not about eliminating conflict. Families will argue. Parents will lose their temper. Children will act out. What matters is how we repair. When you apologize after snapping at your child, you teach them that relationships can bend without breaking. When you comfort them after a fight, you show that love remains steady. These small repairs are the threads that weave long-term security and joy. Happiness, then, is not about constant smiles or a life free from tantrums. It's about creating a home where emotions are safe, where empathy is practiced, and where children learn that relationships matter more than perfection. A child who grows up in that kind of soil doesn't just learn to be happy in childhood. They carry those skills into adulthood, building friendships, marriages, and communities that sustain them. And as Medina transitions from happiness to morality, he reminds us of something profound. Happiness and goodness are intertwined. A child who learns empathy, who feels secure, and who practices kindness is not only happier but also more moral. Which brings us to the final big question: are babies born good? And how do we teach them right from wrong? Imagine watching your toddler on the playground. Another child is crying because they've dropped their toy. Your little one pauses, looks, and for a split second you see the choice flicker in their eyes: do they keep playing, or do they reach out with kindness? That moment captures the question at the heart of every parent's mind: how do I raise a child who cares about encouraging truth? Babies are not blank slates when it comes to morality. From as early as 18 months, children show signs of empathy. A toddler who pats your shoulder when you pretend to cry, or who offers a cookie to a sad playmate, is displaying the first sprouts of moral understanding. These small acts hint at what science confirms: children are wired with the seeds of morality. But, like all seeds, they need the right soil to grow. One of the most surprising findings Medina shares is how early babies can tell right from wrong. In one study, infants watched a puppet show where one character helped another climb a hill while a second character pushed the climber down. Even at just 6 months old, babies preferred the helpful puppet, reaching for it eagerly. This suggests that our brains come with a moral compass, however primitive, from the very start. But if morality is built in, why do kids lie, cheat, or fight over toys? Medina reminds us that morality is not automatic. The seeds are there, but they need constant nurturing. And one of the most powerful tools we have for nurturing morality is discipline, not in the sense of punishment, but in the sense of teaching. Discipline, after all, comes from the Latin word disciplina, meaning instruction. Here's where many parents struggle. When your child lies about eating the cookie, or lashes out at a sibling, what do? The instinct to punish harshly can be strong. But Medina shows that harsh punishment often backfires, creating fear without teaching right from wrong. What works better is discipline rooted in empathy, consistency, and modeling. Let's take lying as an example. Research shows that lying begins early, often around age 3. At first, lies are clumsy and obvious, but as children grow, their lies become more sophisticated, reflecting their expanding brain power. So how do we handle it? Medina says the key is to understand why children lie. Often, it's not malice. It's imagination, wishful thinking, or fear of disappointing us. Instead of shaming, we can use lies as teaching moments. We can explain why honesty matters, praise truth-telling, and model honesty ourselves. Picture this: your preschooler insists they didn't spill the juice, even though you watched it happen. Instead of snapping, "Don't you dare lie to me," you might say, "I know it's hard to admit when something goes wrong, but I love it when you tell me the truth. Let's clean this up together." Over time, your calm and consistent response teaches that honesty is safe, even when mistakes are made. Cornerstone of morality, and here too, children surprise us. Even toddlers have a strong sense of fairness. Hand out snacks unevenly, and watch the outrage. "That's not fair," may be one of the earliest moral protests. This shows that fairness is deeply wired into the brain. But knowing what's fair and practicing it are two different things. Children need guidance in sharing, in taking turns, in understanding that fairness sometimes means putting another's needs first. Parents who narrate fairness, who model generosity, and who praise kind acts give children the practice they need to turn instinct into habit. And then there's aggression. All children hit, push, or yell at some point. It doesn't mean they're bad. It means they're still learning how to manage impulses. Discipline here is less about punishment and more about redirection and empathy. Instead of labeling a child as mean, we can label the behavior: hitting hurts. You're angry, but let's use words. By consistently separating the child's identity from their actions, we teach that they are capable of goodness, even when they stumble. One of Medina's most profound insights is the role of parental modeling. Children are expert imitators. They watch not just what we say, but what we do. A child who sees their parent return extra change to a cashier learns honesty. A child who hears gossip or sees cruelty at home absorbs that too. In many ways, morality is caught more than taught. Our everyday actions, how we treat the server at the restaurant, how we talk about neighbors, how we handle frustration, all become silent lessons in right and wrong. So what, then, is the soil that grows morality? It is a home where empathy is practiced daily, where discipline teaches instead of shames, and where parents model the virtues they hope to see. It is a soil where mistakes are treated as opportunities to learn, not as evidence of failure. Consider a family dinner table. In one home, conversation is filled with complaints, criticism, and sharp words. In another, there's laughter, gratitude, and gentle correction. Both children hear lessons about morality, but the soil is radically different. Over time, the second child learns that kindness and fairness are woven into everyday life. Medina offers a hopeful reminder: raising a moral child doesn't require perfection. Parents will lose their patience. They'll say things they regret. But what matters is repair and consistency. When you apologize, when you own your mistakes, you model humility and honesty. You show your child that morality is not about never failing, it's about how we respond to a close. A beautiful theme emerges. Smartness matters. Happiness matters. But morality ties them together. A child who is intelligent but selfish will struggle. A child who is cheerful but dishonest will stumble. But a child who is both kind and resilient, who can think, who can care, and who can choose right over wrong, that is a child prepared not just to succeed, but to thrive. And so, with empathy as the thread running through intelligence, happiness, and morality, Medina leaves us with a picture of parenting that is both challenging and deeply hopeful. We are not raising test scores. We are raising human beings. And the soil we create, safe, loving, consistent, and empathetic, is what allows those seeds to grow. Parenting often feels like standing at a crossroads with no map. Should I be stricter, or more lenient? Do I need more toys, more lessons, more structure? Am I giving my child enough to succeed in a world that feels tougher every year? These questions swirl in our minds, often at night when we're exhausted, looking at our little ones and silently hoping we're not messing it all up. And that's why John Medina's Brain Rules for Baby feels like such a gift. It doesn't hand us a rigid formula. Instead, it invites us to breathe, to step back, and to see the big picture of what really shapes a child's brain and heart. And here's the surprising truth: it's not the gadgets, the flashcards, or the early lessons. It's the soil we create. Intelligence, happiness, morality, these seeds already exist within every child. Our job is to nurture them with love, empathy, and consistency. Think about what we've learned. A smart child isn't the one who can rattle off the alphabet at 2 years old. A smart child is one who learns self-control, who's surrounded by rich language, who plays freely, and who's praised for effort rather than innate talent. A happy child isn't one shielded from every bump or tantrum. A happy child is one who feels safe expressing emotions, who's taught to name and manage big feelings, and who grows up in a home where empathy is the norm. And a moral child isn't magically born knowing right from wrong. A moral child is one who sees honesty modeled, who experiences fairness, who's disciplined with teaching rather than shaming, and who learns that kindness is a daily practice. Medina reminds us that parenting is not about perfection. We will lose our patience. We will raise our voices. We will feel overwhelmed. But what matters most is how we repair, how we apologize, how we show our children that love and honesty always return. In fact, these moments of imperfection may be some of the most powerful lessons we ever teach, that being human means stumbling and standing back up again. If you take only one thing from Brain Rules for Baby, let it be this: your presence matters more than any program or product. Your voice, your touch, your empathy, your willingness to listen and to guide, these are the true brain builders. When you read aloud, when you talk during daily chores, when you hug after a meltdown, when you model kindness in small ways, you are literally wiring your child's brain for a lifetime of resilience, connection, and growth. Imagine your home as a garden. Some days the soil feels dry, rocky, full of weeds. Other days, it feels fertile and rich. But as long as you keep tending it, pulling the weeds of harsh words, watering with kindness, planting seeds of patience, the garden will grow. Your child's brain will flourish, not because you created perfect conditions, but because you showed up, day after day, with love. That's the quiet, powerful hope of this book. We don't need to raise prodigies. We don't need to raise perfect children. We need to raise children who are curious, kind, resilient, and capable of joy. And we do that by being present, by offering empathy, and by remembering that the most important classroom in the world is the relationship between parent and child. So tonight, when you lie awake wondering if you did enough, let Medina's words reassure you. If you loved your child today, if you spoke with kindness at least once, if you helped them feel safe after a storm, then you are doing the most important brain-building work of all. As we close this journey through Brain Rules for Baby, let's carry forward a gentle mantra: smart grows from effort, happiness grows from empathy, morality grows from example, and all of it grows best in the soil of love. If this reflection has given you insight, comfort, or encouragement, I'd invite you to stay with us here on this channel. We'll continue exploring the very best parenting books, not just what they say, but how they can truly make a difference in your daily life. So if you'd like to keep filling your parenting garden with wisdom, don't forget to subscribe, so you don't miss the next story we share. Because at the end of the day, parenting isn't about having all the answers. It's about learning, growing, and walking alongside our children, hand in hand, as they become the people they were meant to be.